Look, I've been excited all season long because now we're getting to this slate of conference games, Chris, where I only thought I would see these in January, right? And I'm talking about last week, Penn State coming to Los Angeles to take on the USC Trojans. You just mentioned it. This would be a Sugar Bowl matchup, Texas and Georgia, and yet I get to see this in the middle of October. Let's start there with this matchup. How huge is this game? Is this an elimination game for Georgia, who's already lost one game on the season to Alabama? They lose 2 conference games. They're going to be looking at an at-large bid, but I can't believe that this could be an early elimination game for Georgia, where yet Texas is still showing people that this is the game for them to show everybody they truly are the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC really is kind of beating itself up right now. There's only one undefeated team. It's Texas. And so if you're any of these other teams, you start racking up those losses. If you get to 9-3, you're going to be on that bubble. You may not be in. We saw it with Ole Miss. They lose to Kentucky in a surprising upset. Then suddenly you lose to LSU and you've got 2 losses and you have, I think, Georgia still on the schedule. And suddenly your season has dramatically changed what you thought it could be. Georgia loses to Alabama. They've got Texas now. They got some other tough games as well. And those losses can rack up. And it's not just whether you're in the playoff or not as well. If you need to get to the SEC championship game to play for the bye, you want to host a first round game if you don't get a bye versus playing on the road. Those are going to be very different scenarios for seeding. And I think with the playoff, a lot of us are thinking, well, they're probably going to make it in anyway, so it doesn't really matter. No, because you get those losses racking up, you may not be in. You may be on that bubble. And if you do get in, you may be going on the road to play at Penn State or somebody like that. And your path gets a lot more difficult. So the SEC has a lot of games in the second half of the season that are going to be elimination games. And if Georgia gets a second loss here, suddenly, yeah, they will be on that bubble of, I don't know if this team's going to make it by the end of the season.
You mentioned Penn State. Has USC covered tight end Tyler Warren yet? Are you sure you're aware of this? Please let me know.
17 catches, tying the FBS record for catches by a tight end in a single game. He was unbelievable. James Franklin has been really high on this guy for a long time, and you can see why. And not only that, he completed a pass for 9 yards. He also snapped the ball one time. This guy can do everything, and that was an unbelievable performance. And he brought them back and helped them come back to win that game out there in LA.
I was talking a little bit of USC because they had a great week 1 win. And all of a sudden they've lost now. They're at 3-3. And we're not talking about the team that they lost to. Because remember, the world was caving in after week 1. Remember, Brian Kelly and LSU, what is going on? I need to coach better. We got to be better. He kind of called out his players, and yet they won the last 4 games in a row. They look like a much better football team, and now they could be that team that is now creeping its way back into the conversation of a possible conference championship game. Not necessarily an at-large bid, but trying to still have a chance to win the SEC.
Yeah, they've been kind of gritting these games out. They had to come back to beat South Carolina. They come back to beat Ole Miss. They didn't lead in that game until the final play of the game. They had to make that comeback, and Ole Miss couldn't put the game away when it had the chance. The defense is getting better. That was the weakness of this team for the last couple of years. It's why Jaden Daniels could win a Heisman Trophy and the team couldn't make the playoff. Even though this defense lost Harold Perkins, the star pass rusher at linebacker, it's still getting better, and that's a good sign. And Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback, didn't have a great game against Ole Miss, but he just kept sticking in it and made enough plays at the end to win the game. And yeah, that was maybe almost a playoff eliminator game between LSU and Ole Miss last year. And LSU still got a pretty tough schedule to go. They've got Alabama still to play. But you win those games, you keep advancing every week, you're going to be in that playoff picture at the end of the year, or the SEC picture, because, again, everybody's dropping some unexpected games. And so LSU's, they lose that first game against USC, and we kind of put them on the back burner for a while. And suddenly they're back here as a top 10 team and a team you have to think about again.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.